both to you who are here, and a special blessing to those who are streaming us from all over the world. What a year. I would normally ask you at this time to greet your neighbor, shake hands, introduce yourself to longtime members and new members, but we cannot do so this year, so kind of just wave to somebody, acknowledge them in some way. If you're watching from home with others who are living in the same household with you, you might want to hug one another and wish each other a good year. And if you are online, feel free to send a virtual message to the many thousands of people who are viewing the services with you. In the sanctuary, we're going to wear masks the whole time. Social distance. If you feel a cough or a sneeze coming up, and if you can get out of the sanctuary to do that and come back, that would be helpful. We've eliminated the responsive readings, and all the singers are behind plexiglass and wearing masks. We love when congregants sing. It's something distinctive about Stephen Wise, but we're a little concerned about the aerosols in the room, so I want you to remember that God also hears soft singing and even non-verbal prayers. God understands the silent prayers of our hearts. In a nutshell, this is the emotional pain and the cruel impositions of the pandemic. The very thing we most want and need as human beings, especially in difficult times. Human contact, closeness, comfort is the thing that we must avoid if we are to stay ahead of the coronavirus. While the fortunate among us have had months of inconvenience, tens of millions of fellow Americans and hundreds of millions of people worldwide have endured profound challenges, physical, emotional, financial. In our synagogue, we have lost cherished members, and dozens have fallen ill. We will have an opportunity on Yom Kippur to remember those whom we lost and to honor their memory. I emphasize to all of us, and especially to young people who have most of their lives still ahead of them, we are measured in life not by moments of ease, but by struggle and adversity. Millennials, Gen Xers, Gen Z, the pandemic will end. All pandemics end. Many of you will live to see the 22nd century. This year or two of disruption will be a small part of your long lives. My prayer for you and the rest of us is that we discover strengths that we never knew we had, and we discover insights previously hidden from us, and that these will influence you and our society for the better. That this period, perhaps 1 or 2% of your lives, will chart a new direction for you individually and for us collectively as a country. History will remember these days. Students of the future will study us. They will produce learned theses and sweeping history books about what life was like back then in 2020. We have an opportunity to make history. The question is, what kind of history will we make? Eventually, the medical establishment will develop vaccines and therapeutics that will tame the virus. Would that we could find a cure to what really ails humanity, the disease of emotional distancing, our unique ability to emphasize our own needs and to ignore everyone else's needs. May it be that we develop emotional closeness through this period of physical distancing, that these painful times incline us towards the recognition of a deeper truth. We need each other. Lo tov eyot adam levado. It is not good for people to be alone. Think of it. Alone in our rooms, we get up, walk about, and sit back down again quite differently from the way we do when we have a guest in our home. The presence of another human being has an indefinable influence on us. We need other people. Until the pandemic ends, find them in other ways. Jewish communal expression will change for a while, but our people has had thousands of years of experience living Jewishly in periods of profound disruption, even more serious than this. These days too shall pass. If you are distanced from the synagogue, try getting even nearer to Judaism. Observe Shabbat, festivals, and Jewish rituals. Seek out Jewish fellowship and learning online. May your passion for Judaism be embraced. May you come to appreciate better the soul-saving salvation of Jewish spirituality. May you come to understand more deeply the preciousness and the precariousness of life, the importance of children, parents, relatives, friends, and community. May it be that your physical distance from Jewish centers you in God's embrace. Karov Adonai lenishbarei lev, the psalmist wrote. God is close to those whose hearts are broken. V'da ka'ei ruach yoshia. And God will restore those who are depressed. Pray for strength. Pray for courage. Pray for understanding. And Jonah prayed to God from the belly of the fish. In my trouble I called out, and God answered me. You heard my voice. You cast me into the depths. The deep engulfed me. I sank to the bottom. Yet you brought me up. When my life was ebbing away, I called out to you. We will get through this. We will get to the other side. We will reemerge on dry land. And when we do, we will rebuild. In some ways, even stronger and better than before. May life be kind to you this year. May you experience moments of joy and many blessings. Shana Tova Tikatevu. May you be inscribed it this year in the book of life. We turn to page 20 for the Baruch Hu, and we rise. אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בדברו מעריב ערבים, בחוכמה פותח שערים, ובתבונה משנה עתים ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמורותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים. Page 28, ואהבת.
Please be seated. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת פעם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Page 32. True in faith, these are fundamental to our existence. God alone is their source, and we are Israel, a people of God. Our sovereign saves us from tyranny, redeems us from its violence through countless wonders, from its brutality through great feats beyond measure. We are Israel, a people of God, the giver of life, who would not let our feet give way, the maker of miracles for us against Pharaoh, of signs and portents in the land of Egypt, the one who brought our people Israel from its midst to enduring freedom. Witness to this heroic might, the people thanked and praised God by name, freely accepting the reign of heaven. Then Moses and Miriam and all Israel sang to you this song of utter joy.
Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha ner al hakodesh, Lurat elirot oseh malchutecha la'u ba'necha, oknei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, zehi anu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Everybody! Everybody at home! ונאמר כי פדה ה' את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Redeemer of Israel, shelter of peace, we ask for a shelter to descend upon us and all Israel and all the world, that we may live together in peace, without fear, together. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Mehamidenu Shomrenu Lechayim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Mehamidenu Shomrenu Lechayim Ushmor Tzedekenu Uvorenu Lechayim Ushalom Me'ata ve'ad olam Me'ata ve'ad olam. Adonai apore sukat shalom aleinu על כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים ופרוס עלינו צורת שלומך הפורס השלום על ישראל ירושלים. We continue with Vishamru on page 38. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. Once again, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ובן בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Continue with the Chatzi Kaddish on page 40.
יתקרל ויתקדש שם רבה מעלמא דברה כרותה וימליק מלכותה בחיי כון ובימי כון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בגולה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. שמי רבה יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומן ויתנשא, וידהר וידלה וידלל, שמד קודשה. ולאלה מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן מעולמה ואמרו.
Please rise.
Open your lips. Open your heart.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואימותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים דובם, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסי אבות מאמהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לחיים, ולחפץ בחיים, וכותבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי המתים אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחייבת ברחמים רבים, צועק כופים ונופל עולים, ומגן אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, איש עבר. במקומו
You are holy, your name is holy. Seekers of holiness, praise you day by day. Selah. Please be seated. And so in your holiness, give all creation the gift of awe. Turn our fear to reverence. Let us be witnesses of wonder, perceiving all nature as a prayer come alive. We bow to the sovereignty of your strength, the primacy of your power. We yearn for connection with all that lives, doing your will with wholeness of heart. Awe-inspiring is your creation, all-encompassing your transcendent name. And so in your holiness, give your people the gift of honor. Bless with praise those who praise you. Bless with hope those who seek you. Give your believers a basis for faith, true happiness for the land of Israel, true joy in Jerusalem. May the sparks of David, your servant, soon grow bright enough for us to see a beam of light in the darkness, a promise of perfection. And so, in your holiness, give the righteous the gift of a vision bright with joy, a world where evil has no voice, and the rule of malevolence fades like wisps of smoke. Good people everywhere will celebrate the stunning sight of arrogance gone from the earth. You and you alone, Adonai, will reign over creation upon Mount Zion, home of your presence, and in Jerusalem, a city set apart by you. As the psalmist believed, Adonai will reign eternally, your God, Zion, for all generations. Hallelujah. You are holy. Your name is awe. There is nothing divine beyond you. As the prophet Isaiah taught, the source of all might is exalted through justice, the God of holiness made holy through righteousness. Baruch atah Adonai, HaMelech HaKadosh. You chose us with love to be messengers of mitzvot, and through us you made known your aspirations. Among all the many peoples, you gave us a pathway to holiness. Among all the great nations, you uplifted us and made yourself our sovereign. And so we seek you and serve you and celebrate our nearness to your presence. Your great and sacred name has become our calling. Our God and God of the generations before us, may a memory of us ascend and come before you. May it be heard and seen by you, winning your favor and reaching your awareness, together with the memory of our ancestors, the memory of your sacred city, Jerusalem, and the memory of your people, the family of Israel. May we be remembered for safety, for well-being and favor, for love and compassion, for life and for peace. On this day of remembrance, eternal our God, remember us.
Amen.
Be mindful of us.
Amen.
And redeem us for a life of goodness and blessing.
Amen.
Favor us with words of deliverance and mercy. Show us the depth of your care. God, we await your redemption, for you reign with grace and compassion. God who is ours, and God of our fathers and mothers, in your glory reign over the infinite expanse of space and time. In your grandeur be exalted through your power. Show us your reality. Then all who dwell on earth shall understand that you are their maker. Astound us with the beauty of your presence, so that every breath of life shall say, eternal is the God of Israel, all embracing God's rule and sovereignty.
Eloheinu, Eloi Avotenu, v'imotenu, ritzeh, v'nuchatenu, kadeshenu b'mitzvotecha, v'ten chelkeinu b'toratecha, sabeinu mitovecha, v'samechenu v'yeshuatecha, וינחלנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה וברצון שבת קודשך, וינחו חובה ישראל מקדשי שמך, ותהל ליבנו, ותהל ליבנו, ותהל ליבנו לעובדך באמת, ותהל ליבנו, ותהל ליבנו, ותהל ליבנו לעובדך באמת. יללי, 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 היי, Adonai Eloheinu Le'amecha Yisrael u'tefilatam ve'ahava tekabel.
Tamid avodat Yisrael. El karov lechol koyav v'nei el avodecha v'chonenu ותחזינה עינינו ובך
We continue on page 62. God, who is ours, God of all generations, to you we are grateful forever. Rock and protector of our lives, your saving power endures from age to age. We thank you and tell the tale of your praise, your power in our lives, your caring for our souls, the constant miracle of your kindness. Morning, noon, and night, we call you goodness, for your compassion never ends. We call you mercy, for your love has no limit. We call you hope now and for all time. And for all these gifts, God of majesty, may your name come to be blessed and praised, our gratitude a daily offering until the end of time. Inscribe your covenant partners for a life of goodness, and may all life resound with gratitude and faith in praise of your name. God, you free us and strengthen us. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. We pause for silent prayer.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha
For healing. Mishaberach Avotenu v'Imotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yavarech et Hacholim. Peter Arnault, Leon Beltzer, Ellen Bernstein, Esther Bat Chaim, Harriet Foyer, Joe Fuller, Muriel Goldstein, David Hipschutz, Gordon Levine, May Meltzer, Marcia Mountain, Nicholas Peterson, Alter Aharon Ben Razel, Ruth Sherman, Stephen Solander, Lisa Speransky, Celia Stark, Jane Stark, Harrison Steinberg, Joanne Weinrib, Harav Yaakov Ben Michael Esther, Benjamin Ojeda Feinstein, Andy Weisenfeld, Tina Weisenfeld, Florence Zwerdling. And if there are people for whom you are praying for healing and you'd like to share their names out loud or in your hearts, please do so now. May the Holy One be blessed with be healed fully in spirit and in body. And let us say, Amen.
Part of the heaviness we're feeling is not only the weight of discipline that we've imposed on ourselves, social distancing, mask wearing, careful personal hygiene. Some of us have washed our hands more in the last 6 months than in the previous 6 years. Significant part of the cumulative heaviness upon us is the uncertainty. We don't know whether the person on the sidewalk walking past us is infected, or the person standing next to us in the grocery store. We don't know if we're infected. Those who did come down with COVID-19 do not know the course of the illness. It is so dramatically different in every individual case. Some people didn't even know they had it, and others will endure years of effects. We are entirely uncertain when this pandemic will end, and thus we are unable to plan. Human beings do not do well with this kind of uncertainty. If we were to know, say, that the pandemic would last for another 12 months, 18 months, then while it would still be difficult, at least we would be able to steel ourselves for a definitive and known period of time. But not knowing adds to our general sense of lack of control, and this disorients human beings. This basic uncertainty of life is the central theme of the Avinu Malkeinu prayer that we are about to recite. Avinu Malkeinu, God and God of our ancestors, be kind to us this year. Spare us sickness, violence, and hunger. Be compassionate upon us and our families. We know that life is full of hardship and uncertainty, but we beseech you to be merciful to us, to inscribe us this year in the book of life. The Avinu Malkeinu prayer seeks to comfort us, to soothe our frayed nerves by reminding us that we are not alone. We are part of a collectivity. Like most Jewish prayers, it is written in the plural. Avinu Malkeinu, our God, bring healing and wholeness to the ill of our people. Avinu Malkeinu, our God, remember us for good. In Jewish tradition, we have almost no singular prayers, even private prayers, prayers for personal healing, prayers for comforting mourners are recited in the plural. According to Jewish tradition, the sin of the golden calf was forgiven on Yom Kippur. We read in the Torah that Moses prayed for the community, and he prayed in the plural. And I fell before God for 40 days and 40 nights, Moses later recounted to the Israelites as he approached his life's end. God interceded and forgave the people. But when Moses prayed for himself in the singular, "O God, let me go over and see the good land, the promised land," God rejected the prayer. "Speak no more of this unto me," God said. If it is any consolation, we are all in this business of life together. We recite Avinu Malkeinu collectively, together, praying for our individual health and safety and that of our family and our loved ones. But we also realize that our well-being is dependent on the well-being of others, that there is a universality to the human condition that brings us out from our loneliness into the collective embrace of humanity. We rise for Avinu Malkeinu on page 77.
מלכנו, שמע קולנו. אבינו מלכנו, חטאנו לפניך. אבינו מלכנו, חמול עלינו, ויעל עלינו, ותעבנו. אבינו מלכנו,
We are not starting with a clean slate. The reality of COVID has changed everything. This year, we may be stuck at home, confused, uncertain, unemployed, underemployed, ill or recovering from illness, grieving a loss, isolated and disoriented. We carry all this into this new year. We'd like to start fresh with nothing weighing us down, but that's impossible. We are hurting, and we too have hurt people, knowingly or unknowingly. We have undervalued others and ourselves. We've changed, and so has our world. Yet Rosh Hashanah has not. We read the same liturgy as we did last year, but this time we are weighed down with uncertainty, anxiety, and even fear. This is the honest truth. But what is also true is that within us we hold a mixture of bad and good, of dark and light, of trash and treasure. Tonight, we begin Yom HaZikaron, the Day of Remembrance. It's time to remember. We cannot throw away parts of ourselves, though we might wish we could. We cannot discard painful memories. We cannot sidestep shame. We can't rid ourselves of regret. In fact, during these high holy days, we bring them close. We dwell in discomfort. Regret and shame, unexamined, are like the undertow of the ocean, pulling us down when we don't expect it. But when we closely examine these feelings, they can no longer function as unseen drivers in our lives. We can integrate the discomfort and move towards a sense of wholeness. When we accept our mistakes, sit with them, atone for them, our feelings around them lose their bite. Once we have earnestly asked for forgiveness, we can forgive ourselves and uncover a sense of freedom. We are not starting with a clean slate, and frankly, we never have. Instead, we can embrace the philosophy of zero waste. From our social experiences to our innermost thoughts, we can look towards having zero waste in our lives. We can learn from our mistakes and rebuild out of regret. We don't need to start from square one. Our regrets give us raw material, something to start with. Rosh Hashanah is the birthday of the world. We read, "In the beginning, God created heaven and earth out of chaos, tohu vavohu. God separated light and darkness, land and sea. Nothing was thrown out. There was no trash." What steps do we need to take to make order from the chaos of our lives? We consider what matters. We take note of our priorities. We make separations. We distinguish between what we want to keep close and what we imagine to be no longer relevant. In East Harlem, there is an unofficial trash museum started by a third-generation New York City sanitation worker named Nelson Molina. He would often rescue bags from the trash compactor and say, "Hold up, something good's in there, I just know it." He rescued vintage cameras, discarded police chief badges, mounds of Swatch watches, dozens of Pez dispensers, outdated kitchen tools, antique pharmacy scales, and old electrical outlet plates. He picked up the things that we left behind, items we no longer wanted or didn't know what to do with, things that at one time or another were of some value and meaning to us, an old taxi meter that represented someone's livelihood, a gold watch retirement present, even actual money that had been thrown away into the trash. What scraps of ourselves have we rejected and pushed away, never realizing that we were throwing gems into the trash? What are the things that we have thrown away without even being conscious of doing it? Friends we kept meaning to call until years went by. Discarded practices that once uplifted our days, abandoned joy, and parts of ourselves left unexpressed. The work of these high holy days is devoted to self-reflection. Rabbi Nachman of Breslau told a story about an angel who watches over people all of the time, even in the dark. This angel is named Yodea, the angel of losses. Yodea translates to one who knows. The angel of losses knows what we left behind. He watches our lives unfold, taking note of every detail. It's an enormous task, and Yodea has helpers, and even his helpers have helpers. Each one carries a shovel, spending all of their time digging, all the while searching for losses, for a great deal is lost during our lives. And how do they find what is lost? After all, our losses live in the realm of the unknown. They need a light, not just any light. They need the light emanating from each person's soul. For the soul itself is a light planted within each of us, not like a torch, but more akin to a small candle. Yet with this light, we can search inside deep wells where darkness is unbroken, peering in corners and crevices. Small though it may be, it is necessary to be guided by that light. What have we lost? What are the losses that Yodea is picking up for us, whispering in our ear, don't abandon this. Remember, it has meaning for you. What do we need to recover? Yodea, the angel of losses, the one who knows, is like a guide for Cheshbon HaNefesh, the kind of soul-searching we do on Rosh Hashanah. While we may want to throw out experiences, feelings, and parts of ourselves that we do not like, Yodea helps us to reconsider and recognize what value these things still hold. A Sufi folk tale. Mullah Nasruddin decided to start a flower garden. He prepared the soil and planted the seeds of many beautiful flowers. But when they came up, his garden was filled not just with his chosen flowers, but also overrun by dandelions. He sought out advice from gardeners all over, tried every method known to get rid of them, but with no success. Finally, he walked all the way to the capital to speak to the royal gardener at the sheikh's palace. The wise old man suggested a number of remedies to get rid of the dandelions, but Mullah had already tried them all. They sat together in silence for some time, and finally the gardener looked at Mullah and said, "Well, I suggest you learn to love them." We have lost so much. Our work and education systems are completely disrupted, and loved ones have struggled with illness or may no longer be with us. We are in an economic crisis, a moment of great racial divide and unrest, an absence of real leadership, and a climate crisis that threatens life on the planet. Meanwhile, the world refugee count continues to rise. Anti-Semitism in America and Europe is at its worst in decades, as white supremacists feel emboldened in the current cultural climate, and the extreme left is mired with anti-Israel sentiment. This year, Rosh Hashanah is different. The work of this time feels different because we've spent the last 6 months questioning so many things about our lives. We have been forced to evaluate our lives in this new context. We ask ourselves, is this how we want to be living? Are we fulfilled? Are we giving the best of ourselves to our loved ones? This is a time when many people are considering major life changes, from changing jobs, to moving to new places, to keeping children home from school. We are relating to each other in new ways, and we are relating to ourselves in new ways. In this moment of Rosh Hashanah, we ask ourselves, are we being who we want to be? There is a folktale about a man who would carry 2 pots to a stream each day. He'd fill them up, walk back along the path, and bring the water home. But one of the man's pots had a crack in it. The pot was ashamed of its brokenness and said to the man, "I'm sorry, I feel like I'm letting you down. You do all of this hard work to bring me home every day, and yet when you get there, only 2/3 of the water is left because I'm broken and imperfect." The man responded gently, "As we walk back today from the stream, I want you to look at the path beneath you." On the way home, the pot looked down and noticed that because of the water that he had leaked, beautiful wildflowers had grown all along the path beneath him. Context matters. Sometimes traits viewed as undesirable in one context seem valuable in another. What flowers are emerging from our cracked selves? What treasures are we overlooking? What beauty arises from our brokenness? There are parts of ourselves that we may not like and have been trying to suppress, but we may realize that they have intrinsic worth. Sometimes our internalization of social hierarchies gets in the way of recognizing true value. Sometimes our expectations of how things should be gets in the way of appreciating how things are. The sound of the shofar wakes us up to seeing things with fresh eyes and a renewed sense of clarity. We are called to search within ourselves and separate meaning from chaos. The Kabbalists believe that every action emanates positivity or negativity into the world. There is no such thing as waste. Everything has to go somewhere. As we move from chaos to separation to reintegration, we open new channels of energy. We don't have a clean slate, but what we have is better. We have material to work with that provides us with the opportunity for change and renewal. Not having a clean slate gives us the chance to reach a place of wholeness as we integrate all we are, all we have been, and all we want to be. Shana Tova. We continue with the Kiddush.
ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם ויכל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה וישבות ביום השביעי בכל מלאכתו אשר עשה ויברך אלוהים את יום רק יקדש אותו. כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו, אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. ספרי חבריי ורבותיי,
ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברכו ברוך שמו,
אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הכפן.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברכו שמו,
אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העם, ורוממנו מכל לשון, וקידשנו במצוותיו. ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה את יום השבת הזה ואת יום הזיכרון הזה, יום דרה מקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ודברך אמת וקיים לעד. ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברכו ברוך שמו,
על כל הארץ, מקדש השבת בישראל ויום הזיכרון.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
We rise for the Aleinu on page 82.
עלינו לשבח לכל הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו במשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו להם, וגורלנו ככל העולם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתכרים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שהוא בשמיים ויוצר הארץ, מושב עיקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אלוהינו, אמת מלכנו, אפס סולתו, תחתו ותורתו, ידעת היום והשמותה אל עבדיך. אני אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל
to those who have departed from this earth. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We extend our sympathies to those who have lost loved ones in recent weeks: Marilyn Belzer, Ruth Miriam DeVeck, Diana Bauer Shikiar, Tamara Engel, David A. Englander, Melvin Kitzes, Susan Kustler, Barbara Weisenfeld. And we remember the following yard sites of years past: Susan Bayless, Joseph Barretts, Elise Bloch, Sam Blum, Katie Davidson, Lillian Deutsch, Irving Dick, Gertrude Eisenstein, Berta Escalante, Sarah Fader Hershkowitz, Irving Genn, Saul Goldstein, Elihu Gottesman, Ella P. Green, May Greenspan, Max H. Horowitz, Aviva Kelton, Elsa Klein, Joel Lander, Fred Oppenheimer, Billy Joe Perelman, Abraham Rappaport, Sylvia Rosenberg, Claudia Schoenfeld, Marty Sklar, Fern Spandorfer-Cohn, Irving Sturm, Elliot Topkins, Joel Verbit, Emil Weiss, Louis M. Weintraub, Samuel Welt, Helen Yellen. And if you are saying Kaddish for someone and you'd like to share their names out loud or in your hearts, please do so now. We rise as one community as we are able, and we turn to page 90 for the Mourner's Kaddish. Yit gadal v'yit gadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach yurutei ve'amlich malchutei. B'chayechon uve'yomechon uve'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala ubizman kariv ve'imru amen.
Amen.
Yehei shemei rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei amen. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudasha barichu. La'ela u'la'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen.
Amen.
Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen.
May the source of peace bestow peace on all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved, and let us say, Amen.
Amen.
Just a few announcements before we conclude. First of all, for all those who joined us personally and around the world, we hope that this will be the first and the last way that we celebrate the High Holy Days in this manner. But as Jews, we've practiced for thousands of years not only how to seek to change the world, but trying to grapple with the world as it is, too. So this is our world now. We'll deal with it as best we can until conditions improve. To that effect, for Rosh Hashanah, there won't be any family services here in the morning, but all families and children, if you're watching online, there'll be a virtual Tot service tomorrow morning at 9 and a virtual family service tomorrow at 9:30. Find the details online. The general service here begins at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning in the sanctuary and online. If you've not pre-registered, it's too late to come in person. So make sure you have the online information and you know how to check us out. Tashlich tomorrow will be virtual at 3 o'clock. You can find it online. For the second day of Rosh Hashanah, family and tot services begin at 9 o'clock. They're all virtual. Sanctuary service at 10. If you've not pre-registered, it's past the deadline. So join us online. And the religious school will be doing a special High Holy Day Central Park on Sunday on the second day of Rosh Hashanah, with a chance for the families to engage in a socially distant way and to celebrate together. So I think that'll be fun. For Yom Kippur, we've hit our capacity for the services on Yom Kippur. However, we're leaving the site open until Monday at noon for those who wish to be put on a waiting list. If seats open up during the next 10 days, we will contact those who registered and who are on the waiting list, and we'll let them in on a first-come, first-served basis. If you registered and you did it just to reserve a spot, but you're not sure you're coming, know that you're taking somebody else's seat. So if you are not sure you're coming, make a decision. And if you're sure you're not coming, let us know so we can give your seat to somebody else who wants to be here. Services will begin at the same time as this week, 7 o'clock Kol Nidre, 10 o'clock Yom Kippur morning. There will be adult study sessions. They'll all be virtual and online. Check out the schedule. That should be really interesting. There's a little bit of a time change for the afternoon. Usually we start a little later, but we're going to start Yizkor at 3 o'clock. Yizkor is at 3 o'clock on Yom Kippur, and we'll go straight from Yizkor to the afternoon service and then to Ne'ilah, and we expect to end at about 6:45 or 7 or so. I have one request. If you don't plan on being with us through the entire afternoon service, and we have a lot of people who generally come just for Yizkor, and then we have a 5-minute break and they leave. I want to urge you, if you only expect to come for Yizkor, I want to urge you to consider doing that online, because once you occupy a chair from 3 to 3:30, that chair can't be used anymore throughout the afternoon and evening services, so, and the Ne'ilah service. So see what you can do, and all of the services are on high definition online. So give consideration, if you expect only to come to Yizkor, to tell us that you forego your seat so we can give that seat to somebody else. We do have a children and baby blessing at the end of Ne'ilah. That's among my favorite times of the year, so if you have been blessed with new life, we're still going to do that. We're not going to do that on the Bima. We're going to do it virtually, but get in touch with us because we have pre-recorded everybody who has welcomed new life into their families, and we want to share that blessing with you. Finally, I say to you, take care of yourselves and take care of others too. Don't enter the synagogue if you don't feel well. And wear masks at all times, social distance at all times while you're here, and stay at home if you're exhibiting any of the symptoms of COVID-19. Finally, I want to wish all of you good health and many blessings this year. Cantor Singer, we conclude with
Adon Olam, page 94. Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol, Yetzir Nivra, Lehet Nasa, V'chefzo Kol, Azay Melech, Shemo Nikara, V'yacharei, Kiklot HaKol, Levado, Yimloch Nora, V'hu Haya, V'hu Hove, V'hu Yeh, מלך בטרם כל יציא נברא ועת נשא וקצו כל אזי מלך שמוני ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא עובד והוא יהיה בתפארה דון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציא נברא לעת נשא וקצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא אחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא עובד בתפארה והוא היה והוא עובד בתפארה ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך תורה והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצור חבלי בעת צרה והוא ניסי ומנוסי מנת כוסי ביום אקרא ביום אקרא אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציא נברא ועת נשא וכבשו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא אחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא עובד והוא יהיה בתפארה אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציא נברא לעת נשא וכבשו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא עובד בתפארה והוא היה והוא עובד בתפארה
Why does a human being have two eyes? His answer, with one eye you should look for the virtue in every human being, and in the other eye you should look at your own faults. Let that be our guide this year. Let us assume the good in other human beings and look critically at ourselves. May this year be a sweet and joyous year for you and your loved ones, a year of health and understanding and peace. May we be inscribed and sealed this year in the book of life. Please rise. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and protect you. Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May the light of life shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God be with us this year and grant us a good year, a year of peace. Amen. Shana Tova.